to another edition of the Traction Reaction Podcast. It's Steve Zautke. Once again, joining me is Eddie LePine, who is down at Daytona this weekend for just a phenomenal weekend of racing at Daytona International Speedway with the Rolex 24. What a weekend, wasn't it? With especially with Meyer Shank winning again. But what's the big takeaway from this weekend?
Well, I think just Michael Shank going up against it's David and Goliath story. Penske and Ganassi there this year. Penske back to Daytona. The big storylines with Porsche.
But is it though, really? I mean, if you think of it, I mean, yeah, Michael Shank, it's a great story. I remember this guy, bombing around in Toyota Atlantics at the Milwaukee Mile 20 years ago. And he got to a point, he took his driver career as far as he could. And big props to him, saying that, hey, you know what? I can only go far as a driver. What can I do as an owner? And he's built this thing a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. Now he's building this huge. I saw it last year. I drove past his new shop just outside of Columbus, on the east side of Columbus. Huge facility. And so he's won the Rolex now two times in a row. This time with Acura. He's in bed with Acura. They're doing good things there. He's got probably the hottest driver in IMSA right now with Tom Blomqvist, who's blown everybody away at how fast he is. And you got Hélio. You brought in Hélio. The first interview I did on this going from the old radio show to Traction, my first interview was Hélio. And I asked him, I said, going with Meyer Shank Racing, at least in my opinion, I thought it was teaching. It was the final kind of part or cog that they needed to kind of teach them how to win races. And he's done that. I mean, since Hélio's come on board, this team has taken off. They got a little bounce in their step, whatever you want to call it. But I think they're at that point now. Yeah, Penske is still at the top. Ganassi's right there. And I think Meyer Shank Racing, though, is certainly closed that gap.
Oh, most definitely.
I blew you away with that, didn't I? He's speechless.
I'm speechless. For once in my life, I'm speechless. That's what most people. I'm actually running on. It's the first time I spent the whole weekend there, so I really got a full taste of it. Been going for 25 years. The Meyer Shank story, I've watched them build that team in road racing and to what they have now. As we know, if we rewind, we look at how Hélio was let go from Penske and moved over to Michael Shank Racing, Meyer Shank now. And, he won Indy. He's won this race now 3 times in a row for Hélio. He knows how to get the job done, and he made a big mistake during the race, and they came back. He spun out, rare mistake, and came back, fought back, and there they are, back winning another watch. And it is amazing to see what that team has progressed, and they've challenged. I use the David and Goliath, but I think that he's right up there now. He's becoming Goliath. At Daytona.
And I think Blomqvist really has blossomed, pardon the pun, I guess. But, I mean, this weekend, you looked at those restarts. He was so phenomenal on those restarts. Nobody was able to get close to him. And you thought that was probably, if looking back, that with the 2 Cadillacs and then with the 10 car 2 chasing them, you thought that maybe they could get alongside, muscle their way into turn 1 or somewhere going into the bus stop. I'm sorry, it's still the bus stop. It's not the Le Mans curve. It's still the bus stop to us. But anyways, but he was just able to maintain that edge at the end when it counted. And I thought it was interesting too that he was the one in the car at the end. And he's the fastest guy out there. Colin Braun, too, I thought was very good. And to be honest, I think Hélio and Simon, I don't want to say they were just filling out the car, but Braun, some of those moves he made, he was scaring the crap out of Townsend Bell. Townsend Bell was like, I can't believe he's doing that. He was thinking, why is he taking those chances? But I think that car was so good. They were so confident, and Braun felt so good in that car. That's why he was making those moves.
Well, I mean, and Blomqvist is really good. I mean, he's a good qualifier. I mean,
Hmm.
he got the pole. He's really good on cold tires, and he proved that again. And Colin Braun is the same way. I mean, he's got this opportunity with them, and it was a great
Well
opportunity,
deserved too.
and he won. And
Hmm.
that's the whole thing about it. When you put a team of drivers like that together, I mean, Simon and Hélio, all four of those guys, and they work well together, and it reflects with the results they're getting. And I think that's what it's all about. Is it 24-hour race is teamwork first and foremost. If you're not going to work together with the team, it's not going to work. And it was a fantastic race. The crowd was mega. It was bigger than when Dale Earnhardt Sr. was there.
Yeah,
It was huge.
it is
I've
really,
never
really
seen it.
grown. People that go, oh, there's not many people in the stands. There's actually a lot of people in the stands, considering that's not really that. It's not set up for that, for one thing. And yeah, it was packed. Especially there's a shot before the race of the crowd that was there on the pit paddock there, and between the pit lane and the grass in there. It was huge. It was very impressive. Speaking of racing, that LMP2 finish was phenomenal. And it proves you don't have to bang into each other to have a good race and take people out. You can race people cleanly and still put on a hell of a show. And that 55 car, that was impressive what Alan was able to do with that car.
Yeah, he made a great move, and even in the interview after, it was amazing because I guess he must have watched enough NASCAR races not to make that move too early.
Yeah, he took his
And
time. There was a few times, for the last two laps, they were so close that he could have banged into him, especially going into one. He was racing Ben Hanley in the old Ford, the CrowdStrike car, and Allen just was patience enough, and what a hell of a finish! That was incredible.
well, I mean, and it was because they were up against the eight ball from the start on Thursday. They wrecked that car in Thursday afternoon practice session. And they had to rebuild that car for the race. And Proton is one of the best in the business. They've won so much. We don't have that much time to talk about how much stuff they've won. And they acquired Jimmy Bruni, who won for Porsche last year at the 24-hour in Le Mans, and is a Porsche factory driver. And Porsche's kept him under their. I think they've kept him because they don't want him to go to anywhere other
Sure.
team. So this was his first prototype race, and they won. And I was actually walking in the pits at 4:30 in the morning, strolling to the pit lane to go check out the action. It's the best time to go check out the activity because
Hmm.
the masses are gone. And I walked down the thing, and who do I bump into? Mr. Penske.
Ah,
4:30 in the
4:30 in the
morning.
morning, he's up. Now the
I
question is,
know.
was he still up, or because he's an old geezer, was he just getting up at 4:30? That's the
Oh,
question.
Steve, old geezer. There
I'm
isn't,
kidding. He can run laps around me. I know it.
I got to tell you one other quick story. Mr. Penske was, I mean, he was everywhere I looked, I saw him all weekend, very involved. I don't know what the number is now, if it's 84 but Mr. Penske was walking around shaking hands, and he noticed that the the gate for the cars in the front was like a little crooked. And he went over there to point to his mechanics to move it so it was straight.
Really.
And just, you know, Mr. Penske is so meticulous when it comes to this, and so involved in everything that's going on. And it was, I was not surprised to see him at that time, but I went to the pits, and Jimmy Bruni was getting out of the car after he did a four stent run, and that's when their race started changing to start moving forward, and they started knocking. I think they were in fourth place at the time, and you saw that progress as the race got slower. And I think with that late caution, it really helped James Allen at the end to be right there. But your point about that it was just a clean pass there, it was racing at its
Mm-hmm.
hardest. Two guys. I mean, think about it, Steve. This
Yeah.
isn't a sprint race. We're going down to 24 hours of racing this car that was just, it was almost put on a trailer because it was crashed that hard on Thursday. And these guys are giving everything they have, and they're coming to the flag, and they won by what? What was it? I don't know what the time was, but it was
0 point
like
or
3 feet.
right.
It was 3 feet, and it was amazing.
Even
I
the
guess,
dog is excited about it. The
yeah,
one other thing I
you
wanted to
know what?
mention is
They're
Cooper MacNeil going out as a winner, but thanks to thanks to Marl Engel, who put on a hell of a pass. I'm a Jack Hawksworth fan, but he got snookered going into turn one. That thing was a thing of beauty. That pass he pulled out, and the Mercedes factory driver was able to pass Hawksworth, and they were able to take the win in what's supposed to be Cooper MacNeil's final Rolex 24. What a way to go out, isn't it?
well, Morrow is a fabulous driver again, like Blomqvist, but he's in a GT car and a Mercedes. He's an amazing. He put it on the pole. I mean, he's one of those guys that gets the job done. And like you said, it was clean racing.
Oh,
After
he faked him out. He faked him to the right, and he dove down like a fight, like a heavyweight fight, and got him going into one. It was a thing of beauty. It was just magnificent.
it definitely it was a fabulous weekend, and I think people, except for the Porsche contingency, I think
Right.
those people were probably the most disappointed, and the
Well, you
Ferrari
would.
people.
Yeah,
Ferrari
I,
had,
yeah. I
I
thought
mean,
it was interesting too with BMW with the prototypes. They had their issues going, early on, and they basically used it as a test session. So I mean, Rahal, gave a thing after the race saying, hey, we made it to the finish. It wasn't what we wanted, but they were able to get some laps in, get the testing, and it's not easy. It's not,
well, I mean, BMW did a great job when you
yeah.
think about it, because they were, the furthest behind that
Hmm.
everybody could see on paper. And they used it, like you said, as a test session, but they actually got really good towards the end.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to have some good data to move forward with the program for Sebring. And it's just like Penske. People don't realize, this was from ground zero. This was built, and Penske Porsche came together to collaborate on this with the hybrid system. And they definitely, I mean, they had some problems.
You
Both
can you
cars
can
had some problems.
I'll tell you one thing though, you definitely know it's a BMW with that nose. It's a very unique looking car.
I gotta tell you though, I was I thought the car was one of the nicest looking cars
Oh
with the
yeah,
paint
yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
everything. And I'm not a fan of the front nose, by the way.
Nostrils, big nostrils. Uh you were there all weekend. And anybody that you saw there that maybe nobody saw on TV that you thought, well, I can't believe he or she
Well,
was here.
the big news, Garage 56,
Hmm.
the collaboration with Hendricks.
Jenson
They
Button.
announced, yeah, Jenson Button. He's going to be testing at Daytona tomorrow. Mike Rockefeller, who I've watched him grow up from a little kid, is getting this opportunity with Jimmy Johnson. And if you really want to go out, watch the YouTube video. Just go to YouTube and check out Garage 56 Camaro. And one of my friends came to me with it because I just was busy with 70,000 other things. But they showed me the video of that car, and it's unbelievable. I think it's going to be a banner year at Le Mans. We have the 100th anniversary coming up, and we're going to have an American team going there, with NASCAR. And I think it's going to be pretty cool. And to see those drivers in that car, and it's unlimited too. That's the thing with that car. They have no rules for that
Right,
car.
right.
So they can, you want to say the old comment, run what you brung, and that's what it is.
I
And
mean,
it's amazing.
it's pushing the limits, which I'm all in agreement for. You know, and Jeff and I, Jeff Orlowski, who co-hosted the radio show with me, we were always very critical of NASCAR when we saw him doing stuff wrong. But I got to give him, a tip of the hat on this thing. This is pretty cool. With them being able to pull this off, going to Le Mans, trying things that you're not comfortable with, and that would be it. I mean, you're going up against Porsche, Toyota, which has been dominant lately, all these iconic European names, and you're going in there I mean, they're out of their comfort zone, is what I'm trying to say. And it's kind of cool what they're trying to do on this. And there's been a lot of criticism of IndyCar, and I can understand why they're not moving to a new formula. It's a big investment. There's money involved with with engine formulas and whatnot. And they've been very static for basically the last 10 years, but with the improvement with some safety things. But it's interesting how now over the especially last 24 months, NASCAR has been doing a lot of interesting shit. I mean, whether it's this, whether it's with bringing in some of these drivers who Trackhouse, I think bringing in teams like Trackhouse has really shown NASCAR to kind of think outside the box. Now, where they might step on their dick is Chicago running a street race. We'll have to see how that works. It might work out. I don't know. We'll see. But they're trying different things. You got to give them they were in a rut. They were having issues, but they're trying a lot of different things, and it'll be interesting to see. There is some interest. There's people who might not be following NASCAR going, this is kind of interesting. What are they trying to do? That look at the thing with the pass at Martinsville last year. They're getting some. They're
talking about that, and I think too, like what you're saying, NASCAR, with this association with IMSA, they're seeing how that fits their agenda for future,
right?
Because they want to move. That's why they want to do a street race. I think that was a bad move, but we'll see how that progresses. But you could see, like with Trackhouse and Trans Am racing, and they're bringing these young kids. I mean, Brent Cruz, who sticks out in my head, is 14 years old, and he won Nashville when I was there in the Trans Am race. He won at Road America, and then he ran a super late model at Hickory the next week. And then he's running midgets at the Chili Bowl. So, I mean, I think NASCAR really, you could see the road racing is becoming a very important piece to the NASCAR puzzle.
They've certainly embraced it. Well, Eddie, what's your biggest surprise of the weekend real fast here? We only got about a minute to go here.
Just the overall curiosity, and I think with the new formula, the GTP, and the future of it, I think it's very exciting, and I think it's going to just turn into something very big. You can see by the reaction of the crowd.
Yeah, that is definitely they've done a good thing here, and then it's on to Sebring in March. That's always quite the zoo. I'm sure we'll talk to you before Sebring. It'll be interesting to see, and we'll talk to you again. We appreciate it. A lot of fun. Racing season starting to kick off. Pretty soon the snow will be gone here, and we'll be up at Road America again, and the Milwaukee Mile. Because don't forget NASCAR coming back to the Milwaukee Mile, and we'll see what happens the year after that. But we'll be doing a lot more at the Milwaukee Mile this year too. So, Eddie, we appreciate it.
I'm excited to come back to the Milwaukee Mile.
Should be looking forward to it. Eddie, we certainly appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again on the Traction Reaction podcast.
Thanks a lot, Steve.